My fiancé's best friend is making my life a living hell and constantly picks on me, so I cut off their friendship and made my fiancé drop him as his best man. My fiancé has the biggest heart, would literally give you the shirt, pants, and hat off his body if you ask for it. A few months ago, I started picking up on his best friend making some not so nice comments towards me. He said, "I can't imagine being so unloved that you end up in an orphanage." Oh wait, Shane, you were from an orphanage, right? Care to enlighten us on how it feels to be that unwanted? And why didn't you just pick another orphan like yourself? Maybe you'd actually understand each other. This friend is the type to read who in the room would be most affected by being picked on, and then he picks and picks and picks on them until they can't take it anymore. Nobody ever really holds him accountable for this, and unfortunately, I have somehow become his favorite target. I tried to put up with these comments, but it started getting really elaborate. The friend would make up lies about me saying things I never said. He once called me in front of all our friends, my fiancé included, just to yell "you're a bad friend" into the phone and then hang up. It started having an effect on me and my mental health, and I ended up having a full breakdown where I told my fiancé how much this was all starting to hurt me. The first time I broke down over this, my fiancé said he would talk to his friend about teasing/messing with me less. He then told me his friend was sorry and that he'd be keeping an ear out for any other comments, and he'd jump to my defense if it happened again. A few weeks later I had a second breakdown over all this. The situation itself is hitting a very specific childhood trauma/trigger for me, and he admitted that his friend didn't actually apologize. He actually said he was sorry I was too sensitive to understand his humor. At that point, I told my fiancé my friendship with this person was over and I wanted zero contact from here on out, even if it meant I had to miss out on events and parties that I'd otherwise love to go to. He agreed with me that all of this is being done with the intention to get a rise out of me, and that even if we tried to get through to this friend, he was so diabolical that we could never fully trust him to not treat me at least a little bit crappy. My fiancé kept asking if this meant he had to quit the project they were working on. I told him I would never tell him he had to because I know how much it means to him, but in all honesty, the fact that this person is treating me so poorly that I'm having physical stress reactions isn't enough for him to want to cut this person off does hurt a lot. The fact that it isn't a deal breaker for him is probably always going to sting a little. He's not confrontational at all, and I always knew that, but it's not about confrontation. It's about standing in my corner, and I can't spend the rest of my life with someone who isn't in my corner. This friend is getting married to my best friend in a few months, and we're both supposed to be at the wedding, but I really have no clue how. I get a literal knot in my stomach anytime his name is even mentioned now. I have seen this friend one time since all of this came to a head, and he was so over-the-top nice to me that it came off as cocky. I had the second breakdown a few days afterward because I realized I'm possibly going to spend the rest of my life on edge and on guard anytime this person is even somewhat in my vicinity, even if they aren't actively f***ing with me. I don't know how to come to terms with the fact that my fiancé was willing to lie to me on his crappy friend's behalf, but he's not willing to stand in my corner against him. I think it'll always hurt. This guy was supposed to be the best man at our wedding, and as a result, we haven't been talking much about wedding plans. I think if he's still planning on this friend being in our wedding, I may have to call it off for my own sanity, and that sucks so bad. This is eating me alive. I love my fiancé so much. I love his big heart, and the way he loves with all of it. But he loves some truly wretched people, and I don't know if he'll enforce any boundaries with those people before the lack of boundaries becomes too much for me to handle. I'm just hurt, and hurting, and I just want whatever outcome to play out so I can stop feeling so guilty and awful all the time. Update: I want you all to know my partner absolutely came through and protected me in this. We spent all this time until last week communicating and trying to find a resolution, and walking through how it got this bad. He took a lot of accountability for that. This is not a case of me giving in. He understands fully that this has only got so bad because it's never been handled correctly, and he had a major hand in that. The bottom line is we are closer than ever, and after a lot of talking, we decided on my partner sending a firm but not unkind message to his friend explaining the behaviors, explaining that they were hurting his partner and that it needed to stop. He asked me to write up the first draft, and we could go over it together to try to perfect it. He laid everything out so clearly and in ways that we hadn't discussed, so I know it came from him. We had to tone down a lot of the big emotions. We really truly gave the message its best shot to address the situation without being hostile. We knew the response would be bad no matter what, but I don't think anything could have prepared us. This man went full scorched earth and blew up everything almost immediately. He insulted my partner. He told me these events didn't happen the way I claimed they did. He demanded they meet up alone with a mediator. He even threatened to reach out to my partner's parents to fill them in, which was probably the moment we stopped taking his responses seriously. All of us are almost in our 30s. If once wasn't enough, he threatened it twice. We actually had to call them and warn them that he would be showing up at their place later this week and not to open the door. There's still a good chance he'll attempt it. We stayed respectful throughout all of this, which I feel good about. We didn't stoop to his level. We didn't insult anyone. We asked for basic human respect, and somehow it blew up spectacularly. In the end, we both received a massive wall of text from my, now ex, best friend, fully backing up her man and telling her side of the story, which is so insanely far off from what actually happened that all I can do is laugh. We've been shifting from crying to being dumbstruck to just straight up laughing because of the absurdity. I went into this thinking she was brainwashed, but it turns out I was wrong. They're a perfect match. I wish them all the best. I am sending them one last message setting the record straight before moving on from this entirely. I'm going to make it very clear this is done. Zero contact is definite, and I will never look back. My partner and I both deserve way better friends, and we both see that so clearly now. I'm so fin glad I learned my friend's true colors before we dropped $800 on a hotel for their wedding.